Warning, the following podcast contains adult language, themes, and situations. Also, the film we're about to talk about is going to be spoiled thoroughly. Listener discretion is advised. Enjoy the show.
In the last few years, we've seen a trend of up-and-coming independent directors hiring Nicolas Cage specifically to let him go full Nic Cage, with varying levels of success. But the question must be asked, does letting Nick loose to do whatever he wants help or actually hurt the final product? Today, we'll break down a film that answers that question with a resounding yes to both, as we watch the 2023 psychological action thriller, Sympathy for the Devil.
Okay, let's run.
I'm like a prickly pear.
What do you say we cut the chit-chat? A-hole! Porker, how'd it get burned? How'd it get burned? How'd it get burned?
Hey, have you ever been dragged to the sidewalk and beat until you
Pissed blood!
Welcome to One Cage at a Time, the show where we break down every single Nicolas Cage movie, one film at a time. Here are your hosts, Patrick, Vince, and Nigel.
A mysterious passenger takes an expectant father hostage to answer for crimes he claims the man committed for the Irish mob. What follows is a deadly game of cat and mouse where nothing is quite what it seems.
Except it's also exactly how it seems.
Exactly.
Yeah, pretty much.
Ladies and gentlemen, here are your stars.
Sympathy for the Devil stars House of Cards regular, Suicide Squad's Rick Flag, and rebooted Robocop star Joel Kinnaman, and basically no one else besides the devil himself. Academy Award-winning actor who is 100% sex in this film, Nicolas Kim Coppola, better known as Nicolas Cage.
Let's dive into the nitty-gritty.
Sympathy for the Devil was released on July 22nd, 2023 for its premiere, and then it was released, I'm assuming, in just a handful of cinemas on July 28th, 2023, because I couldn't find the budget at all. Another one of those. But it grossed $178,267.
What?
So it looks like the limited release was only in the Netherlands and Russia. Wow. Which is like, why would you release this movie in those places?
I remembered seeing a trailer for it. I thought it was released in theaters. It's not.
Apparently was not at all. I feel like this movie really kind of came out and nobody talked about it, and then it just disappeared, and we're the only ones who remember that it actually was released. Mm-hmm. And for a while there, I felt like I was the only one of the three of us who remembered that it was a movie.
Yeah,
no, because I watched it and
you
I was
brought it
like,
up multiple times.
Whoa,
like,
I can't wait to talk about this movie because it is insane. Like his performance is so over the top, cagey that it's just. I don't know. It's something to behold.
Oh, yeah. After I watched the trailer, I thought, okay, I don't want to watch this until we're going to do it. Because I have a feeling it's going to be one of those movies where he's just batshit crazy.
Yes.
Sure enough, he is.
From the first moment to the very last.
Yeah.
We'll get into it, but amazing. And kind of terrible at the same time. I don't know. It's kind of a hard film to pin down. Mm-hmm. This was directed by Yuval Adler, who has only directed a few things. A film called Bethlehem, The Operative, and The Secrets That We Keep, and a couple episodes of a show called Shooter, which I'm not.
I think that was
based on the movie.
Yeah, the
Mark Wahlberg movie.
Based off the
This was written by Luke Paradise, who, aside from having a porn star's name, I couldn't find much about him. Although I will say that he has some semi-high profile projects in the works. He also wrote a film called Lost on a Mountain in Maine, which got much better reviews than this movie. So I think that was the movie he did after this one. So maybe he's a on the rise writer. Pretty much everybody on this film I'm like, who? I know who Joel Kinnaman is, and I know who Nicolas Cage is, but I'm not sure about the other people. This was shot by Steve Halloran, who's worked on a ton of independent films and shorts that I have not seen. Not one. The only film that kind of rings a bell is a 2020 film with Alec Baldwin in it called Chick Fight that also co-starred Stolen star Malin Ackerman. That's what she's best known for. Is Stolen.
Only thing I know her from.
Thankfully, nobody got shot on that one.
Jesus. Fuck.
Probably some chick got punched in the face, though. It's called Chick Fight.
I feel like we need to give Rust an honorary episode at this point.
We have talked about it a lot at this point.
Like we have April Fool's Day episode.
I feel like that'd be in poor taste, but yeah, let's do it.
It would be.
Releasing
but also
the movie
really
would probably
funny.
be in poor taste, but that, so.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Very true.
I mean, I get it. Everybody else worked on it. Whatever.
I would be like, okay, we're taking the loss. I mean, there should be an insurance thing with that. Like,
yeah,
you can just take the loss.
If they
Somebody got
to
killed.
pay the insurance.
Yeah, that's true.
Seemed like they were just sort of shoestrapping everything else.
Yeah. Yep. Edited by Alan Canant, I think. Also an indie guy with a career that goes back to 2004. Again, I haven't heard of anything on his list aside from an episode of the first 48.
Nice.
But there are quite a few on the list with semi-high IMDb scores, so I'm sure they're indie films. But sometimes it's kind of like hard to justify watching those movies that made $180. Like this one. So the only reason we're watching is because we had to, basically. And then music by Ashay Adar, who goes by the name Oosh. OOSH. Like,
all right.
Oosh. Who has also been working since 2004. And again, I don't recognize a single thing on the list.
The indiest of indie films.
Yeah, very indie. This whole thing. I like the music, actually, quite a bit.
Yeah, the music
throughout.
was good.
Yep.
Aside from Nicolas Cage films, I guess we're pretty out of the indie scene at this point. Like, I don't feel like any of us are really like going deep diving into indie films at the moment.
No.
I feel like it's definitely something I did in my 20s, but I don't really do it anymore because I just do not have time anymore. Ratings, this got a 59%, just barely in the rotten category. I saw it fluctuate back and forth between 59, 60,
Yeah, that's
61.
right below.
Yeah, right below the rotten or the fresh category. 5.6 out of 10 on 83 reviews. Not a ton of reviews for a film that came out in 2023. The audience score is a 50%, so actually worse than the critic score. Metacritic gave it a 54%. Again, weighted score, so I don't know, one critic could have given it a good review and then everybody else shit on it. You just never know with Metacritic. Mm-hmm. Letterboxd gave it a 2.7 out of 5. I don't even know what to make of these fucking Letterboxd scores at this point because they're all over the place.
Yeah.
I feel like Captain Corelli's was like a 2.7 out of 5 too. It was like
Okay.
IMDb 5.5, so it's all kind of like the same kind of middle of the road for everybody. Like Rotten Tomatoes, critics and audience and Metacritic and Letterboxd and IMDb all kind of gave it like right in the middle.
Yeah.
It's like, not quite great, not quite bad, which spoilers, I feel like that's kind of where all fall, at least. I don't know about everybody else. And then did not get a cinema score. Shocking. I thought this would definitely get a cinema score. Such a big release, $178,000. That's crazy, dude. We've seen quite a few films lately that have been in this kind of like vein of like made under $250,000, but I don't know. It's just 2023, and you are actually releasing it somewhere, in any indie theater, and you still only make $178,000, and it's starring Nic Cage. I don't know. It's kind of weird to me.
Well, it's more than I thought it was going to make because I didn't think it was released theatrically anywhere. I thought it was just straight to streaming and video.
I did. I thought it had a theatrical.
No, because it kind of came out in that weird time where theaters were still struggling to come back online. So you're not going to put this movie in theater.
Yeah. I mean, maybe originally they planned to, but
Not after
then they watched it and they were like, nah.
How about a Coppola quick facts?
Coppola quick facts here. I literally only have a couple here. During a Q&A, the director, Yuval Adler, whatever his name, and producer revealed that the passenger's red hair was a choice made exclusively by Nicolas Cage, of course, as we've seen 1,000 times now. And then he just showed up on set with it. Didn't even ask anybody. He's just like, hey,
I think at this point he knows, like, what are they going to do?
Yeah, seriously. They're like, they already paid me. It was fuck it.
Kind of a dick move, though.
You know what I haven't done yet? I haven't dyed my hair red.
Yeah, it does kind of feel like he pulls like these little dick moves on these little indie films where he just does whatever the hell he wants because he can.
As we saw in Between Worlds, where it's just kind of like, what the fuck were you thinking in half of those scenes? Like, what the hell did that performance mean throughout? It was just like, do whatever the fuck you want. Spray her with a hose. Who cares?
Guys, check out my new shirt. It's got a crocodile on it.
It's got a crocodile on it. Had it custom made last night.
I just pressed it.
I bought all this shit at a Buc-ee's.
Literally just pressed it.
Not even
an hour ago.
Getting really into shirt making. It's fun.
It's my new hobby.
I think my guy would start making shirts if he didn't die.
I'm gonna make a Hoogan shirt.
That scene.
The film was originally set in New York, but they realized that would cost money.
Wait, we can shoot it out in the desert at night for nothing.
I feel like just driving around Las Vegas costs nothing.
No.
It was going to be set in the winter of New York, in New York, which would have created all sorts of challenges. I feel like that they weren't prepared for with the budget.
Right. Yeah. And also doesn't seem to matter for the story. So
no. I think Vegas actually kind of fits better.
Yeah.
Though it kind of makes sense if, the spoilers, the characters are both from Boston and then one just kind of moved over to New York. I don't know.
I don't know. To me, it still makes sense that they moved.
Yeah, they would move to the other side of the country. Yeah.
Plus, Cage could go home at night. He probably didn't even have to go anywhere. He could just go.
That was actually the reason that it was moved to Las Vegas was because Nicolas Cage said, "Hey, I live here. Can we just move? Can we just film here instead?" That's literally what happened. And then approximately half of the film was shot at a Las Vegas-based virtual studio owned by VU Technologies. So almost all of the in-the-car shots were shot on a soundstage with that kind of video wall around them the whole time.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
It felt very green screeny, blue screeny.
Budget volume that Disney uses.
I do like this style better because it does feel more authentic when you're it's not a green screen, it's a projection. So it feels more realistic, and there's actually, a little mechanism in place to move the car. So it feels like it's actually driving down the road and all that kind of stuff. So this feels much more realistic than a green screen, in my opinion. But still, it does have moments where you're kind of like, this is definitely shot on a stage somewhere. Though I guess if you're not looking for it, you probably wouldn't think about it. Sympathy for the Devil was the first feature film in Nevada history to be shot on an LED soundstage.
Huh.
So, I would assume that was technology that was usually used in LA, New York.
Probably, yeah.
But UK was the first one in Vegas, which probably Nic Cage just bought and brought in. I don't want to leave my house.
That's where they tested the theory for the spear.
For the what?
For the spear? The giant spear in
Vegas.
Oh,
the sphere. They said spear.
No, sphere.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. The spear.
Dostoevsky.
Nicolas Cage is a big fan of The Suicide Squad for some reason with Joel Kinnaman.
Wait, which one? Because the Suicide Squad
2021. No, I think that was the
that was the good one.
That was the good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, went on to star in our boy John Woo's return to Hollywood after almost 20 years. That movie that does not have any lines in it whatsoever. I forget what it's called, but it's a Joel Kinnaman tour de force. From what I've heard, I haven't watched it yet. And he's kind of refused to watch John Woo movies at this point.
Hey, that might be playing to his
I've done my.
If there's no dialogue.
Yeah, I feel like it could be actually great. Like that's where John Woo struggles. Yeah. And then the final quick fact is, I don't know if we ever actually see it. I was going to call it out in the moment, but there is apparently a Japanese word on the side of the devils or the passengers' pistols that is the Japanese word for revenge.
Yeah, you do see it. It's prevalent at the end of the movie where he's, spoiler alert, holding the gun to the driver's head.
Yeah,
I didn't
notice it.
Didn't notice it though. When I did the breakdown, I did it on my laptop, and I had to have the screen real small so that I could write kind of cool little quick fact.
His waifu,
and it's also kind of a subtle spoiler. If you knew Japanese, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Let's break this bitch down. Act 1. Let's set some stuff up.
One of the cagiest films we've ever talked about on this show, which is saying a lot, starts with Joel Kinnaman's character, the driver, talking with his son in a car who asks his dad about his sister, who died during childbirth. The driver, aka David, reassures his son that his mom and the new baby that he's on the way to the delivery of will be fine. He tells his son not to let his mom know that he knows about the dead baby and to keep it their secret, because sometimes it's okay to have a secret, like the fact that he let him sit in the front seat or that they have candy and ice cream during the week sometimes, which is foreshadowing about his secret. Also a little weird that he keeps those photos in the glove box of his car, but whatever. Like the ultrasound photos and pictures.
Is that not where you kept yours?
Yeah, that's where I keep all my pictures.
By the way, speaking of dead babies, how did the dead baby cross the road? No, sorry. We stopped doing those.
Jesus Christ.
I was going to say it's because it was stapled to a chicken, but I won't. We've matured beyond that.
Chicken jockey.
God.
That'll date this episode.
That'll date it really badly.
David drops his son off at his wife's mom's house on the way to the hospital, and David chats on the phone with a coworker on the speakerphone, talking into the butt end of the phone, which is totally fine to do in the privacy of your car, but just a public service announcement makes you the biggest dick face in the world if you try to do it on public transit, FYI. Please stop doing that. Everybody hates you. David is worried about missing something at work, but his coworker reassures him that everything will be fine and to concentrate on being with his wife, and David reveals that they decided to keep the sex of the baby a surprise. We see various shots of David driving through Las Vegas, and we see that David's nearly out of gas, but he gets a call from his wife, and we hear that she's already in labor and worried because she feels like the pain of this birth is worse than that of her previous children. He nervously makes his way to the hospital, and we see him pull into a basement parking garage. While waiting for a space, David spots a creepy dude with red hair and a red jacket, staring at him from a distance. David thinks nothing of it and pulls into a spot, but while rifling through a baby go bag he packed, the red-headed creep hops in the backseat of the car and says, "Pick a card," like Eddie King from Deadfall.
That felt like a little homage.
Yeah.
Though Joel Kinnaman's character, spoilers, picks it up later.
Yeah.
Puts it in his pocket.
One of my Coppola questions, because I don't really answer it. Felt like it was dropped on the edit. Cage's character, the passenger, pulls a gun on David when he says that he's not an Uber driver, and David asks if the guy's robbing him. The passenger says, "I didn't say I was robbing you. I said pick a card. Come on, a card. You know, clubs, hearts." David picks, he's got a Boston accent. Sort of.
Sort of. Like a Dunkin' Donuts Boston accent.
Sometimes there, sometimes it's not. It's basically just he pronounces certain words like cad, Boston.
Car.
He did, like I said, he just watched a bunch of Boston or Dunkin' Donuts commercials to practice, and that's the accent that he went with.
Yeah. It's better than his Captain Corelli mandolin.
Oh my
is.
God, it's so much better.
Better than I think all the other accents we've heard him do, except maybe a Southern one. He does those pretty well.
Except His Forrest Gump Con Air accent. I don't know.
Yeah. He does Texas accents, okay.
Yeah.
True.
David picks the ace of spades since he's a big Motorhead fan, and I guess, and the passenger pulls out the exact card while saying, I just knew you were going to say that card. The passenger tells David to drive while chugging from a flask as David pleads with him to let him go since his wife's about to give birth. The passenger tells David to leave the hospital and drive to the strip since he likes the lights, and David says he has a family emergency, to which the passenger menacingly says,
I'm your family emergency now.
David asks him where he wants him to drive him to, and the passenger says, Jesus Christ, and laughs before throwing a squeaky toy at him. David drives them out of the garage, and the passenger smiles at him before reaching out his hand as if to grab him, and then closes his hand like he's caught him, or he was trying to do that weird thing he did in Face Off. Take your tits off. That.
I think it's like, he was like, I finally caught him.
Yeah.
But it was really weird. I mean, so many of the things he does are weird. Mm-hmm. Even when you know the whole story, you're just kind of like, what the fuck did he do that for? Mm-hmm.
Well, they drive toward the strip, and the passenger pats David down and takes his wallet, phone, and the baby bag from him. David keeps looking back nervously at the passenger, who eventually looks back and says,
What the fuck are you looking at?
David says again that he needs to go back to the hospital, and the passenger tells him to turn here. David starts to plead, saying whatever the passenger wants is his, to which the passenger says, now you're going to talk about your family, about how much you love them and all your heart and with all your heart and all your goddamn soul, and goes on to say it's a bit of a cliche. Suddenly, David's phone starts ringing, and the passenger says, you want me to take it? Before telling David, before the interruption, you were going to start up with your phony family speech about how if I were to shoot you through your stupid little earlobe right now, the bullet would, metaphorically speaking, tear through your wife and son as well. Anyone else notice that he kind of did a Walken impression on that line?
Metaphorically speaking, tear through your wife and your son as well. Oh my God. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like the dialogue is actually pretty great. Like,
yeah, it is.
Just from his side of things. Like, Joel Kinnaman doesn't get a whole lot to do, but Cage really gets a lot of fucking crazy lines.
This tips David off that the passenger knows more about him than just some random dude. The passenger notices that they're low on gas and tells him to take the next exit, and he gives David one of his credit cards so he can get gas. The passenger looks over at someone else getting gas and says,
Great night. Great fucking night.
He tells David to watch his speed on the highway and says that he once got 3 speeding tickets in 1 month back in South Boston, and says, want to know why? Stress! And then laughs to himself. He notices something.
You want to know why? Stress.
He notices something on his shoe, and while trying to get it off, David mouths to the woman getting gas, help me, and the passenger notices her staring at him, so he says,
Sup?
The passenger realizes something is up, so he walks over to her and says, well, hi. And she nervously jumps into her car and speeds away while the passenger menacingly stares at David again. Passenger tells him, I don't blame you. Might be your one and only shot, but maybe I was following you. Maybe I know where you live. So you run for it. And now you've involved your family too. They stare at each other for a long beat, and the gas finishes filling, and David tells him to relax. They start driving again, and the passenger searches through David's glove box. He ogles a picture of David and his wife while saying, did somebody say sexy? David almost drives in an oncoming car while nervously watching what the passenger is looking at, and the passenger says, can you look at the road, please, when you're driving? Passenger asks where David's from, and he says Tucson. And then he asks if David has ever been to Boston. David says he's been there once, but it was years ago, which prompts the passenger to put the gun to David's face and say, not for nothing, but you remind me of this guy I used to know in Boston. And this guy used to drink a bottle of Glenlivet every night. Just kill the whole thing right before bed. David said he doesn't drink, to which the passenger says, anymore. David gives him a look before saying he hasn't drank in years, and the passenger again asks him about that one time he was in Boston. David said he works for a shipping company and that he was in Boston for business. The passenger asks if he's sure that's the only time he's been to Boston, and then asks how long it's been since David had a drink. When the passenger says, maybe like 15 years, and when David says something like that, the passenger says, see, that's funny. You making an error like that this early in the evening. That's really not like you.
This one's kind of hard because it's just like two people talking back and forth for the entire movie. So it's like, can't really break it down story beat wise. You kind of have to like,
and they don't really have
point
names.
out
I mean, one of them
say.
has names,
yeah,
but it's just the passenger. You might as well just say Cage.
Yeah.
David is again confused, and the passenger starts coughing heavily, which is movie code for he'll be dead any day now. David asks when he'll be able to get back to his wife, and the passenger asks why he'd assume he'll ever go home again. The passenger then says the whole trip won't take more than an hour, and that they're driving to Boulder City. The passenger tells David that his mom's dying of lung cancer, and that she's a devout Catholic. David interrupts him and says that his mom was religious too, but it didn't stop her from marrying his dad, who beat the shit out of her because he was a drunk. The passenger just stares at him and says, that plea for sympathy was very beneath you. And then says, so anyway, back to my story. And then goes on to say he just needs to take him to the Boulder City Hospital. And David again interrupts him, asking if he has a car. And this prompts the passenger to make a crazy Cage noise since he just interrupted him yet again.
City Hospital.
Do you have a car?
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. Mm-hmm. This movie is so much more cagey than we are making it seem so far.
Yeah. It's basically
every delivery is insane.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The passenger stares at David for a long beat before saying, you fucking prick. Pretty understated. Kevin, you know.
Just because he keeps interrupting him.
I know.
Fucking prick.
Yeah.
David's cell phone rings again, and this time the passenger answers the phone, and David's wife asks where the hell he is. David lies and says he's almost there, and she starts moaning in agony from labor pain, which sounded super fake. Mm-hmm. And the passenger starts harmonizing with her screams, and then she asks who's with him. David says he has the window open, and we hear his wife telling the doctor that when they lost their first baby, the labor took a long time, like it's taking now, and the phone loses signal, and yada yada yada. She just spouts exposition.
But that's one of my questions is like, didn't she just go to the hospital? Like, he's on the way to her giving birth. Like, presumably she was just put into the hospital like a couple hours before this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
What's the question?
It's taking a long time. It's like, it's been 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's true. Unless she's been there for all day, I guess. And I don't know. Active labor. I don't know, having gone through it twice. Active labor can take a long time or it cannot. And sometimes it's just, you're just hanging out for hours and hours, but who knows?
Yeah, I guess.
Anyway, she did not sound like a woman giving birth on the phone.
No. Also, someone take the fucking phone from her, please.
Yeah, that was the other thing. Like, if the doctors are actually there, like trying to help work on her, they're not going to let her talk on the phone. Yeah, which I guess they don't. So they take it away from her.
They do it. Yeah, they take it away at a certain point.
Yeah, because like the nurse would call or something if they needed to. Mm-hmm. David suddenly imitates Cage and punches the roof of the car while asking where the fuck they're going.
Such a Cage movie staple.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't do it. The passenger puts the gun in his face and whispers, "For the devil may start to envy those who suffer too deeply and throw them into heaven." Don't know where that quote's from.
I think it's from Dante's Inferno.
Maybe.
But I'm not positive.
David again stares at him as if he's heard that before, and suddenly he spots a cop up ahead, so he starts speeding. David asks what happens when they get to Boulder City, and we see police lights flashing behind them. The passenger spots the cop and says, "Well, now you're fucking gone and done it." They drive for a while with the cop car following, and David asks if he should stop. The passenger says, "Would you calm down?" to the cop car, and eventually he tells David to turn down a quiet road. The car pulls over, and the passenger says he just needs him to take him to his mother, and he'll let him go. And There's no reason for anything horrible to befall anyone tonight, but if you so much as look at this cop weird, I will shoot you so fast in the back of your goddamn skull, cranial matter will splatter all over this cop's pressed uniform, and it will be disgusting.
And it'll be disgusting. Like, just his delivery on every line is just so cagey, dude. Which I don't know. It worked for me. I thought it was fun. I had a lot of fun watching this movie.
The cell phone starts to ring again, and the cop knocks on the glass, and the passenger says, "May I ask why we're being pulled over?" The cop says they were speeding 11 miles an hour over the speed limit, which doesn't seem like it would warrant getting pulled over in Vegas, but slow night maybe.
Slow night, yeah.
And continually asks for their license and registration while the passenger antagonizes him like a sovereign citizen. David tries to get his license and registration, but the passenger slaps his hand away, causing the cop to say, "One more question and we're going to have trouble," which makes the passenger say, oh no, not trouble. Please, Mr. Big Policeman, anything but trouble," in a mocking tone. Cop tells him to get out of the car, and the passenger says,
Are you fucking crazy? All I did was ask a simple question, and now this big cop is telling me to get out of the car.
Cop pulls his...
It feels like this all could have been avoided, but, you know.
Yeah, could have just given him a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Cop pulls his gun and tells the passenger he's under arrest, and the passenger says he's way too fucking rude to do what he says, while David begs him to just do what the cop says so he doesn't get shot. The passenger asks if the cop is going to shoot him in front of his friend, and David says, "We're not friends." Well, the passenger says, "Because of this Officer Cock," in a kind of Irish sing-song voice.
Because it's Officer Cock again.
The cop calls for backup, and the passenger says, "Get behind me, Satan," and then shoots the cop. Pulls out the keys so David can't leave, and then blasts the cop in the head 5 more times, which is shown to us in pretty graphic detail.
Kind of unnecessary detail, but whatever. I guess you got the effects budget.
Yeah. Passenger takes the dead cop's cuffs, gets back in the back of the car, and lights up a cigarette before telling David, "I told you not to speed." David freaks out, and the passenger says, "Why are you being such a cock? What's past is past, I always say." Though others say past is prologue, which is really just saying the same thing from a different perspective. But the point is, move on.
What's done is done.
What's done is done.
That's all I can think of when he said that line.
Just move on.
He gives David back the keys and tells him to go back to the Galleria. David says the cop was just doing his job, and the passenger says he was an authoritarian little prick, and David says he could have just destroyed a family. The passenger fucking loses it and says, "I destroyed a family! I destroyed a family! I did!" Passenger tells the shocked David to drive again, and David tells him no. The passenger lifts his gun while giving him a creepy-ass look and then shoots David in the ear like he was trying to assassinate Trump. He tells David the next one goes through your face, and David starts finally driving.
Oh, Jesus.
I'd say that this is crazy that no one came out after hearing 8 gunshots and sirens, but Las Vegas.
They're used to it.
Yeah. Another day.
Act 2. It's about time we had some conflict, wouldn't you say?
The passenger asked David where his sudden bravado came from, since he was a whiny piece of shit a few minutes ago, and now he could headbutt a horse. So many great Cage lines in this one. David asks him why he's doing this, and the passenger again says, "My mother, the hospital. Didn't I already tell you this?" David says his story is bullshit, and again asks him why he's doing this, and he says it's too early to spoil everything. The passenger then says, "Pull over, next exit. I'm famished."
He says it like while looking at the camera too. He breaks the fourth wall a little bit. You see if you noticed that when he flicks the cigarette out the window, he looks at the camera when he says, "I won't tell you the whole story. It's too early to spoil everything."
Yeah, it's probably intentional, actually. It actually feels like something that Cage would have brought to the film too. David just stares ahead, and the passenger says, "I can hear you thinking," and says David is planning on crashing the car into something. He unbuckles David's seatbelt so that he won't crash it into something. So rather than crash into something, David opens the door and jumps out while the car is speeding along. It's not something like a normal person would do. So it's kind of another clue as to his actual identity later on. The passenger manages to stop the car moments later before getting out of the car and saying,
Think you broke my beautiful nose, fucker!
as David hides behind a pile of dirt. I want to think that a lot of this was just Cage just improving, but I don't know. There's just so many specifically like perfect lines for Nic Cage that it feels like it was somebody else writing a movie for him.
Yeah.
The passenger makes his way towards David with his gun out, but gets a call on David's phone from his wife. The passenger answers and says he works in the gift shop at the hospital and that David is on a call from the warehouse. Then says, I'm glad you called because he wanted me to ask you what room number you're in. He says her labor sounds painful, then says, if it's any consolation, when my wife was pregnant and delivering, there was so much pressure on her bladder. I mean, it was bitchin'. It was a golden shower explosion cascading all over the doctor's face. It was sexual, man. As you do. Then he says, hey, come on, screw you, lady. And he hangs up. When David finally reveals himself, that's when he finally hangs up on her. The passenger asks what David thinks of his nose and says,
Huh? You like that? What do you think? Still sexy? Dressed up for this night. Now you break my nose? I wanted to be 100% sex tonight, and you cut that in half. I'm now 50% sex.
Then Cage does his Bogart impression for the 900th time since we've been doing the show, while saying, you can't see me, huh? Come on, sugar. When David gets to him, the passenger punches him in the face and tells him, don't fucking do that again. David begs him to let him get back to his wife, but the passenger tells him to get back in the car. It's just the whole movie, just in this car, in a diner. That's it. So a whole movie.
Yep.
David pops his shoulder back into place, doing the whole Lethal Weapon thing. And for, because he jumped out of a moving car. That's why his shoulder's out of place. And then the passenger says, wow, David Chamberlain, you stud muffin. I wonder how many blue collar losers know how to do that. Again, slightly revealing who he actually is. Back on the road, the passenger says his wife is fine and then asks if she and David have a happy marriage. And he says, sometimes it's like we're the only happy people we know. And the passenger says, well, I've never been happy. This is the weirdest fucking moment in the film. It's so out of place. Then he says, you know why? Sinuses. Ever since I was a small child, I've had a stuffy nose. And even at the tender age of 2 years old, I knew the cause of my stuffy nose. I could see it in my dreams, and the cause was the mucus man. David stares at him bewildered like the rest of us, and the passenger continues. The mucus man was a skinny guy in a suit and tie with a bald head and a briefcase full of boogers. And I could see him in my mind's eye going up, up, up in an elevator, briefcase in hand. And he glided across the floor, almost like a snail's trail. And he got to my bed and he opened the briefcase and he scooped out a handful of boogers and sprinkled them into my nose. And yeah, that's just the end of that. Absolute fuck, dude. What does that have to do with anything? I thought it was going to come back in some way, but what the fuck, dude? It's like a solid minute and a half long monologue, and it's like, what the fuck does this have to do with anything else in this movie?
You could do that, but they don't explain the Ace of Spades.
Yeah.
Like, is that just a Cage monologue? Did he just improv it?
I don't know. I love
is that
it,
a real story
but I also
of his?
don't understand it at all. Yeah, it's just Cage is like, when I was a kid, I thought it was a space alien. I had the mucus man climbing in my nose. I don't
Here,
know,
let me read you a book of my poetry.
They stop at a Roadhouse diner where some trucker eyes the passenger's red
the
hair.
Roadhouse Diner. It's just called the Roadhouse Diner.
Yeah, it's just called
The
Roadhouse.
Roadhouse, yeah. And a passenger spots the passenger's red hair and jacket and just says,
Faggot.
while drinking his coffee.
It's so you don't feel bad when he gets killed.
Yeah, honestly.
He's a bad guy.
Yeah. The passenger says there's an important man waiting for their arrival and that his associates are the ones who found him in the first place. David says they found the wrong guy, but the passenger continues by saying the plan was drive him all the way to Boston, but this old fucking Mickey was too antsy. So he flew to a private airstrip in Boulder City, which is where they're going. Spoilers, I don't think this person exists at all, but we'll talk about that later. The passenger spots no substitutions on the menu and gets upset, which becomes the entire plot of the movie for the next 5 minutes or so.
Felt like a Tarantino thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. The passenger snaps at David and tells him to pay attention, then launches into a story about a bookkeeper from Brooklyn who lived in South Boston and worked for a hard-drinking Catholic named Jacob Sullivan. He says the bookkeeper met a girl, fell in love, got married, and had a baby. He spots the waitress coming and tells David to tell the waitress he fell down some stairs before saying, "That's right, you fell down some stairs, you clumsy shit."
We're stairs.
The waitress gives David a look and he says, "I fell down some stairs," immediately followed by the passenger saying, "He fell down some stairs." She asks what happened to the passenger and he says, "I was at the bottom of the stairs when he fell." So I love this diner scene might be on his final reel of like insane performances. The final Nic Cage loses his shit compilation. They each order coffee and she explains the house mozzarella tuna melt special, but the passenger says, "What if I want cheddar?" And she points at the no substitutions on the menu. She says it's the owner's rules, who also happens to be the cook, and the passenger is shocked that the no substitutions rule is a real thing. They really drive this one home. She says
so you don't feel bad when he gets killed.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Fucker wouldn't do substitutions.
We've all been there.
He deserves to die. She says she can slide him a block of cheddar under the table, and he looks around like a maniac for a second before saying, "That's very sweet of you." She leaves, so the passenger continues his story, saying that one of Sullivan's associates started skimming money on the side, and when Sullivan found out, he asked the bookkeeper to invite the associate over since the two of them were good friends. Once the associate was good and drunk, one of Sullivan's guys came along and shot the guy in the head, and the same thing is going to happen to David when he gets to Boulder City. The waitress returns, and the passenger says he'll take the tuna melt with cheddar if you can slip it past your goddamn creep of a boss. And she gives him a death stare. I felt like this waitress was pretty good in this moment. David says he doesn't want anything, but the passenger insists he orders something. But David says he's not hungry. They argue for a bit before the passenger says, "Order something, you stupid fuck." David says he'll take the tuna melt, so the passenger asks if he also wants cheddar. And eventually he says yes, while the waitress looks more and more uncomfortable from this lover's quarrel or whatever the fuck she thinks is going on here. We beat each other up, and then we eat food, and then we fuck, and then we we order food, and then we fuck again. She walks away, and the passenger says he's been thinking of David's biography that he's fed him which he says is designed to garner sympathy. And he violently rips open 4 packets of Sweet and Low for his coffee with his teeth, since he has to do it one-handed because he's holding a gun with the other hand. He says, in my experience, most people tend to think having a family makes you more sympathetic. Before anyone takes a bullet to the head, they're always prattling on about their fucking daughter this, their fucking son that, but the fact that you would do that strikes me as tone deaf. I guess, I feel like this movie does benefit from a repeat viewing, but at the same time, a lot of the stuff is kind of like, there's not a whole lot of story here.
Yeah.
Honestly.
No.
It's just
it's
kind of like
a lot of style over substance.
Yeah, for sure. The passenger says he usually waits till the sun goes down to start drinking, but today I've been drinking all day. Ask me why.
I guess that explains some stuff.
Yeah, I guess that's why he's so over the top.
Yeah.
It strikes me more as like cocaine addled than drunk.
Yeah.
Although I feel like Cage drunk is probably similar to this.
Probably, yeah.
Maybe he's just been buzzed the whole day, so he's a little bit uncaged.
He's a little wired,
but still in charge of his faculties.
Yeah. David refuses, and the passenger gets angry again before saying, I do think about the way your life is gone, how happy you are, how you've got this secret fucking happiness, new wife, new son, eternal goddamn love. David begs him to tell him who he thinks he is, so Cage stares at him with a crazy smile, and his eyes get fucking huge like a cartoon character before he starts laughing and says, "You're the witching hour," which is what the waitress said about what time it is earlier.
Which I guess is to mean like, when I first watched, I was like, what the fuck, doesn't even make sense. But I think he's just saying like, you're the reason I'm crazy right now, basically. Like, it's you. You're the reason that all this is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still doesn't explain why he went full vampire's kiss, eyes bulging out at him. Yeah. I guess because he's just fucking admit it. I just want you to fucking admit it.
I feel like he's like right there. Like he's like, it's gonna finally happen.
Yeah.
It's excited.
He says it's when all the supernatural, the witching hour, he says, is when all the supernatural creatures wither out and run amok. David starts to say something and the passenger screams, "Do not fucking interrupt me, god damn it. I told you that in the car. You're always running off at the mouth. You got a motor mouth. There's a motorboat stuck in your mouth. Just shut up." What the fuck, dude?
Oh, man.
I feel like some of that was on the paper and some of that was Cage.
Yeah.
You got a motorboat stuck in your mouth probably was not in the script.
Your motor mouth.
The trucker who called him the other F word starts standing up to leave, and the passenger says,
"Get the fuck back down!"
That might be the most cagey moment.
Yeah. It's
the stare
really
is probably
cagey.
the most cagey moment, but that line is probably the most cagey line.
Yeah. Suddenly, he punches David in the face and slams his head on the table before handcuffing him to like the bottom thing, whatever, the pole.
Leg.
The passenger whips out his gun and tells the trucker he's watching him before making his way to the kitchen, where he rips a phone off the wall and takes the cook and waitress's cell phones and throws them into a fryer. Would that explode? Do you think that would explode? I don't know.
I mean, lithium batteries explode, but only when they're exposed to air. So probably not. It probably just melt.
Gotcha. Yeah. He tells them to stay where he can see them and asks how much longer the tuna melts will take. It's vitally important. I guess he probably is literally
He's probably hungry.
Yeah.
Who knows how long he's been standing waiting in the parking lot for him to show up.
Creepily hanging out in the shadows, just waiting for him. He takes the waitress by the hand and says he wants them in first he says 5 minutes, then he said, no, 4 minutes. And that they want cheddar since nobody puts mozzarella on a tuna melt. The passenger stops at the jukebox on his way back to David to cue up the most menacing of songs for a crazy diner holdup or kidnapping or whatever's going on here. I Love the Nightlife by Alicia Bridges. He starts singing along while doing a little Steph Curry inspired shimmy dance before doing some weird as hell move with his arm while dancing at the trucker guy who called him the F word earlier. He dances over to David, who stares at the nut job who kidnapped him the same way all of us would in that situation. What the hell? Meanwhile, Cage just keeps singing along, clearly having the fucking time of his life. I think Cage had a blast making this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Finally, he stops and says, I've decided that we should play a little game. It's called Stop the Phony. Do people from Boston say phony a lot?
This guy does.
David begs him to let everyone else go, but the passenger insists David stop lying and tell him the truth or he'll kill everyone in the diner. The passenger pulls out a rabbit's foot and says, Magic rabbit's foot says go. Tick, 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 while tapping it on the table. I think this is the longest list of cagey moments that I had to write down. There might be like a 9-minute long cagey moments.
Like I said, it's everything he does.
Yeah. Everything.
Yeah.
David again pleads his inness.
It's sort of like it's like Eddie King, but like Eddie King was only in 30 minutes of Deadfall or 20 minutes or whatever, and 15 minutes of Arsenal. Like if you just had him through the whole movie, if he was the main character,
this is what it would be.
Yeah.
David again pleads his innocence, saying he has no idea what he's talking about, and says, I never got your name. Sorry, I went into Cage's accent.
Yeah, you did.
I never got your name. Let's just get out of here, just you and me. While the passenger is again disgusted by David's tactics. You little bitch. David's cell phone rings again, and the passenger hands it over, saying, let's just make sure everything is okay. But it turns out to be a telemarketer calling about his car's extended warranty. You scoff at them calling him at 2 a.m., but those fuckers are relentless. The passenger laughs and takes the phone back and insinuates that something terrible must have happened to his wife and or baby since she's not trying to get a hold of him anymore. A woman and a kid stroll into the diner, prompting the passengers to say, oh shit, it's getting good.
The fuck are they doing at 2 a.m?
I know.
That's Vegas, baby.
One of my Coppola questions. Yeah, I guess. The passenger says the food will be done soon, so he'd better start telling the truth while crazily tapping the rabbit's foot on the table and begging David to drop the phony act. David continues to say he has him confused with someone else, and the passenger says, you should prepare yourself mindset-wise. That way it won't be such a shock when it happens. Assume the worst is what I mean. And then he winks at him, which is very cagey. That might be the look, the cagey look of the film.
Yeah.
If we had a category, there's only like a few movies that have the cagiest look of the film, but when it happens, you're just kind of like, holy shit. Yeah, we could think of like Grand Isle, that crazy look that Walter gives him, and Vampire's Kiss, obviously. David asks him what he wants him to say, and the passenger says, you're not changing tactics, not even a little. You're awesome, buddy. As you do. This whole scene is like a tour de Cage. David says he's not who he thinks he is yet again, and the passenger says, I never even told you who I think you are, so how could you know you're not who I think you are? He does the tick, tick, tick thing again with the rabbit's foot and says, time's up, while saying David fucked up. He leans forward just enough for David to headbutt him, which I guess was you could headbutt a horse was foreshadowing there. The waitress drops the tuna melts on her way out to give them to him, and the trucker gets up to run while the passenger just starts blasting. David hits him on the wrist, causing the passenger to miss several times before he bashes David in the face. The passenger gets up and blasts the trucker before choking him to death, while David watches on horrified. Like, I guess he didn't vibe with that trucker guy. Some of this just seems kind of like, well, yeah, all right. So we understand why he's going later on. We understand why he's going after David here, but like, why is he killing all of these other people? Killing the cop, killing this dude.
He's on a rampage, dude.
David tells the woman and kid to run while the passenger reloads, but she just sits there like the good mother who takes her kid to a diner at 2 a.m. that she is. The passenger finishes off the trucker and makes his way to the woman and her kid, putting the gun to her head, hoping for a reaction from David. And he at last says, okay, it's me. I'm exactly who you think I am, which puts a huge maniac smile on the passenger's face.
Act 3. Time to resolve some shit.
The passenger throws David out of the booth onto the floor and says, it's you, it's fucking you. While beating the shit out of David on the floor as he says, it's you, over and over and over again. Finally, the passenger says, hey, James, you did this. The passenger then gets up and shoots the cook in an alleyway while the woman and kid run out. He then tracks down the waitress in the bathroom and asks if she meant what she said about slipping him a block of cheddar cheese under the table. He asks if she was being rude or nice. She says, while sobbing, and he shows remorse on his face before leaving her alive. While all this is happening, we see David desperately trying to free himself from the cuffs attached to the table, and we see him trying to get his phone with his foot. David eventually gets the phone and calls 911 and tells them what happened and where they are. The passenger turns the burners to the stove on and chucks a bottle of liquor on it, causing the kitchen to go up in flames. And because this is some random diner in the middle of nowhere, they couldn't afford to install the fire suppressant system that is required by law to open a commercial kitchen. David finally gets free from the table just as the passenger walks out while saying, James, better to reign in hell. Wouldn't you agree?
I feel like these all have to be quotes from something, right? Like,
well, that's one of the quotes attributed to the devil, right?
Yeah.
Better to reign in hell.
Milton or something. Devil's not in the Bible, so it's not from the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
David or James or whoever he is runs for it, and the passenger shoots him in the leg. David hobbles to a car in the lot and uses his belt as a tourniquet for his leg, and we see the passenger has made a bunch of Molotov cocktails out of bottles from the bar, which he throws at the cars in the parking lot while saying,
Great night! Great fucking night!
The passenger.
I just feel like the cops would have been on top of this so fast, dude.
Yeah, especially because he hasn't done it yet, has he? Did he? Did he call it? Did we?
He called
911.
Yeah, they should have been there.
Yeah.
And a cop was just murdered on the street, and
right.
But it's Vegas, so it's like
that's true.
There's a dozen cops murdered every night there.
Still, it takes like 20 minutes for them to show. I guess they're supposed to be out in the middle of nowhere, so maybe that.
Yeah.
It's
kind of vague where they are, but the passenger says he's been watching him, his wife, and son for a while now, and that it's time for him to wake up. The passenger calls his cell phone in David's pocket and says, "What are you, ghosting me? What are you, Dr. Ross? My psychiatrist?" The passenger says he's going to finish the bookkeeper story from the diner while David tries to figure out his next move. He says the bookkeeper invited the associate over, shot him in the head, but unfortunately, the bookkeeper's wife walked in and witnessed the execution. He says the bookkeeper's wife started to unravel afterwards by drinking, taking pills, and telling the story of the execution to anyone who would listen. The passenger says it was his own wife and that she had become a liability, which means he's the bookkeeper from the story. Then he says that's when he got a call from James Levine, aka David, not the Maroon 5 guy. David sneakily crawls through the chaos before bumping into the cook dying beside a semi-truck. He leaves the cook behind, and eventually the passenger finds the dying cook and finishes the job while still looking around for David, who runs up behind him and throws the passenger to the ground. They fight for a while, and eventually David gets the upper hand, beating the passenger the same way he was beaten earlier. But he stops when the passenger says exactly which room his wife is in the hospital. Mm-hmm. David pauses long enough for the passenger to grab his gun and pistol whip him to the face. Passenger puts the gun on David and says his wife is in room 829 and says, I don't kill mothers as a rule, unlike some people I know, but I swear to God, James, if you don't stop acting like this funny little bitch, I'll break my own rules just this one time. David says he'll do whatever he wants as long as he leaves his wife and family out of it, and they get back into David's car before the cops can arrive. We see the car on the highway driving into a storm and the passenger lighting a cigarette for each of them.
Like, just in time. Like, burn down half a fucking city block. I mean, I guess kind of out in the middle of nowhere. It seems like they've driven
you got to get
about
that hellish imagery somehow.
Yeah,
true.
For that whole scene.
Mm-hmm. David asks what happened to the passenger / bookkeeper's wife and daughter, and the bookkeeper says he got a call from James Levine, who told him his wife had become a liability, and the bookkeeper decided to leave Boston for good to avoid the wrath of Jacob Sullivan and the guy who fixes things for him, James Levine. The bookkeeper says he left to get supplies, but when he got back home, he found his house on fire and talks about the pet rabbits his daughter loved to play with, screaming. Lifted from Silence of the Lambs.
The rabbits, George.
It still haunts me now, David. I could hear them screaming.
You hear the screams of the rabbits, George.
Silence of the rabbits. Just crossing references.
He's like, he looks at David. Would you fuck me? I'd fuck me. David looks at the road and says, I know I'm going to die tonight. I understand. And you made a promise that I know you're going to keep. He once again doubles down and says that he is David Chamberlain and not James Levine, which prompts the bookkeeper to lose it. He says,
You are so fucked in the head, James! You're so fucked in the head you actually believe you're David Chamberlain!
The passenger starts coughing and David says he knows he's dying and that this is the end for him too. Suddenly, the bookkeeper hears a siren behind them, and we see flashing lights. The bookkeeper says, you know, the Japanese say the more violent the death, the higher in heaven you go. And then he says, all right, fixes his hair and says, let's do this, before putting the gun to David's head. David tells him to wait and asks why he didn't just kill him the second he stepped in the car. And the passenger says he wanted to see his true lizard face reawoken. David says Sullivan ordered the hit. And he flicks his cigarette at the passenger and jerks the car into a ravine, flipping it. The passenger / bookkeeper wakes up to find the cop car up on the hill with a couple officers getting it out to investigate.
Climbs out and goes, ow, ow,
ooh, ow. You son of a bitch. Or what does he say in Deadfall? Motherfucker.
I was trapped in paradise.
Yeah.
The car
4 lefts is a circle.
Suddenly, 2 shots take out the cops, and we see David standing over the passenger with a gun in his hand. He gives the bookkeeper an evil look. James smirks after looking at the dead cops and puts his foot on the passenger's neck, but stops and says, I need you to know I never meant to kill your little girl. Your wife, when she saw my face, she went crazy. She just jumped on me and started clawing my face off. And I pulled the trigger 3 times. Face off. He goes on to say after he shot, he saw the bookkeeper's daughter dead in the hallway. Then he says he was drinking himself to death, but God brought Maggie, his wife, into his life, and he knew that God was evening the score when his firstborn died during childbirth. He goes on to say he couldn't stop seeing the bookkeeper's wife and daughter, but when he had his boy, it was like he was given a new life, and God gave him back the life he wrongly took. They stare at each other for a long beat, and James says, I think you gave me closure tonight. I wish I could have done the same for you. The bookkeeper starts sobbing while choking on blood, and James gets on top of him and starts jerking him off. I mean, he starts choking him to death. It's a little fantasy I had there. Sorry, guys.
He was doing both at the same time.
He started jerking his ween. It was all biological, man. James stares at the passenger dead on the ground, cleans his prints off the gun, puts the gun into the passenger's hand, and picks up the ace of spades the passenger gave him earlier and puts it into his pocket. James then checks his voicemail where he learns that his wife gave birth to a baby girl and they're both doing fine. We hear sirens in the distance and he starts saying, "I'm David Chamberlain," over and over while waiting for the cops to arrive. Once they arrive, he asks them for help and puts his hands in the air. The end.
Just nothing really happened in this thing.
No. Nope.
Well, like that's the fastest breakdown we've done.
Well, because like you said, it's just two people talking to each other in the car most of the fucking time. The most action that takes place is at the diner, and even that's short.
Yeah.
We have a Coppola questions before we move on.
Coppola questions. First one right off the top. Was there any symbolism to the Ace of Spades card or to picking a card in general? Did he plan out what he was going to do to David based on the card that he chose? Because that was kind of like Eddie King's thing. Yeah.
I feel like it was, to me, it makes sense that was like James's calling card.
Yeah.
And like they cut that or something. Like it felt like that was supposed to be, he left those at the scene every time he killed somebody.
That would make sense.
Did a hit. And that's how, and like maybe even the one that the passenger had was the one that James left at his house when he burned it down.
Yeah.
Like I feel like they could have just done that, tied that together, and it would have been fine. I don't know why they didn't explain it.
Yeah.
Because there's like, why else would he pick it back up? Like he didn't want that to tie him to this scene or whatever. Like he's taking it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. No trace of his former life.
Right.
Coming back to haunt
I
him.
figured it was either his calling card or was his nickname that he was given.
Yeah.
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 But even then, picking it up and taking it with you, I'm sure the cops are going to search you.
Right. It could be symbolic of just he's, picking up that piece of his former life because, he tried to get away from it all and he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
True. I don't know. To me, that's the only thing that really makes sense.
It's kind of an odd detail to put into the movie and not explain it.
Right.
Agreed.
But that's kind of how their relationship is bookended. That's the first thing that happens is he takes the card and then at the end he gets the card back or takes the card from him. I don't know.
I guess it also serves to sort of make you think it's supernatural, possibly at the start when he gets in the car and he's all red, like you think he's the devil because of the title of the movie, and he's like, "Oh, I knew you were going to call that," and he has that exact card.
True.
Which I will say that you do feel sympathy for him by the end of the movie.
Right. Yeah, and I think that I actually like the title because I think it applies to both of them.
Yeah,
you feel sympathy for David at the start, and you feel sympathy for
the bookkeeper,
whatever, by the end, and they're both bad guys.
Yeah.
They're both the devil.
Yep. This is a big one. Go ahead.
Sorry, like why he's giving him all that devil imagery and stuff. Hey, better to reign in hell, right? Am I right?
Get behind me, Satan.
Yeah, we're just two fucking devils.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's probably like you're the devil. I'm just playing the devil tonight.
Yeah.
This is a big one. Like, wouldn't they know what each other look like?
Well, he dyed his hair red. How the fuck are you gonna?
Wouldn't he know what James Levine looks like? Because if he worked for this Jacob Sullivan guy, he would have known the guy who fixes things for him. At least
I can buy it that he does it. Like, maybe that's just he knows who James Levine is because of the reputation, but maybe he'd never seen him because he was a ghost. Like, he's such a good hitman that you don't actually ever see him. And eventually he pieced together who he was and tracked him down because he said he's been watching him for a long time. So
yeah,
I'm sure he knew what James looked like, but
right.
I could buy that James or David, whatever, has no idea what this random bookie looks like who he had to go kill his wife. But I don't know. Maybe he would know because he was part of the hit job sent to kill his wife, but I guess he was just sent to kill his wife, not kill him. So maybe it didn't matter if you didn't know what he looked like. Or they sort of imply that he's like split that part of his psyche off and buried it. Like he doesn't remember being James. So maybe he literally doesn't remember it until the end when he puts the lizard face back on and gets that creepy look while he's killing him and then takes it back off again and surrenders to the cops.
I would think that the bookkeeper wouldn't know what James looked like because he's just a bookkeeper. He's not really running around with Sullivan in that aspect. Plus, you'd kind of want to keep your hitman anonymous. You wouldn't want your people knowing what the fuck they look like. And when James is showing up, he's there to kill you. So you see him and then you're not around anymore to exist. I took it from the beginning that I always thought that David realized who he was or James realized who he was, which is why he was so scared, or not scared, but like so eager to get away from him because he knew all this was bullshit. He knew what the guy was there for revenge.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like James is like the wolf in Pulp Fiction. It's just he comes in and mops things up at the end, or he's kind of the guy who's just he's the ace up the sleeve. I guess maybe that's what the
it's like we could have just done that and just tie it together. I don't know.
Yeah. Why didn't the woman in the gas station call the cops or like try and help in any way? She just kind of got in the car and left.
She just fucked off. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, baby.
I mean, she's at a Roadhouse diner at 2 a.m. with her preteen daughter. I don't think she makes the best choices.
No, the woman at the gas station, not the one in the diner.
Yeah, sorry. I mean,
you meet a lot of creeps in Vegas. You can't call the cops on all of them.
I think she just fucking left.
Yeah.
I was going to tell him, hey, a guy said sup to me at the gas station and I left.
I mean, like, I originally, like, when I watched it originally when it first came out, and then I had to watch it again. And I, for some reason, remembered her, like, jumping in the car and leaving, and then the cop pulling them over, and not the fact that David was speeding. So I thought maybe that's what it was, but I guess not.
No.
Even if she did call the cops, what do they? I mean, they show up at the gas station and maybe get a description of the car or surveillance video of it, but it's not enough time for them to be doing. They're probably not going to do anything.
Right.
Some guy was weird to me at the gas station.
Well, I mean, David did say help me.
He did say help me, but
yeah,
but he's a white male.
Right.
He can protect himself.
Yeah, I guess.
I just think even if she did call the cops, we wouldn't have seen any of that. I mean, we could have seen it, but it's not part of the story, and it wouldn't have really
true
impacted anything.
I mean, you could explain this away by it being Las Vegas, but like no one heard the cop getting shot. I mean, their house is like there's like a whole block right there.
Again, maybe they did, but they left right after that.
You mind your own business, dude.
I mean, you would think somebody would have called the cops.
If the cop actually called for backup,
he did call for backup,
so they would have at least been sending other cops there. But I mean, they get out of there in like 2 or 3 minutes after that. So
yeah, I guess so. But wouldn't there be like a description of the car already? Like, I mean, there would be a dash cam probably on the cop's car.
I guess we could have. There's a parallel story where they were following them and investigating all this shit. We just never see it because they don't catch up to them.
Yeah,
until the end.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. You think there was anybody actually waiting in Boulder City? I don't think so.
No, because he said Sullivan ordered the hit. So why would Sullivan want him dead? You know, he was just saying that to maybe jog his memory or get at him.
Yeah. Well, I think he did that to distract him because he's like, oh, he's admitting it, and then he, was able to drive the car off the cliff or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. I kind of took it to like that. It was real. He just was like, did I kill him? I was just doing my job. It's like what he says to the cop. We're about the cop when he kills the cop. Like the guy was just doing his job. Like maybe he was just trying to say, like, Sullivan told me to kill the guy. I'd kill your wife. I was just doing my job.
Yeah.
Right.
Same with the Nazis. They were just doing their job.
That's what Kanye tells me.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Why do you think David's wife stopped calling? Because she had the baby, or the
because she went into labor and they took the fucking phone
phone
from her.
Took her phone away, and then
you can't be calling your husband bitch. You're having a kid.
So she actually.
I wouldn't be surprised if they literally took her phone away and just said, "No,
like
If she was a millennial,
we need to focus in on this.
We don't care about your husband. We need to save your life."
If she was Gen Z, she would have been live streaming it.
Sup, chat? No more multitasking here.
Filming it like the guy in Mom and Dad. This is so fucked up.
This is potentially my biggest question of the whole goddamn movie. What the fuck was the Mucus Man story about? Like, what the hell was that? Why? Maybe it's a story his kid told him, and like that's how it ties back in.
Maybe.
Like,
I took it as he's having a psychotic breakdown. He knows he was on the verge of death, and this is his last.
Yeah.
Like he's finally just broke, and that's why he's going after James now. And so he's just out of his fucking mind, and he's drunk.
Yeah, he's just rambling.
Slightly drunk through the whole thing.
When you look at it, like, what's Brian Cox's character in adaptation? The screenwriter
McKee.
If McKee would say, "I haven't got any bloody use for it. Why is it in the fucking movie?"
I get the feeling that there was more to this. Like, it's a 90-minute film.
Yeah.
Usually when you have a 90-minute film, you've cut probably
cut.
at least 15, 20 minutes out of it.
Yeah.
So maybe there was some, like, it turns out it was like a story his daughter laughed at when he told her a story. And I don't know. Maybe it was just him reminiscing about his kid that was killed by this asshole that he's trying to kill right now. I don't know, man. It's just so out of place and weird.
It's so weird. Yeah. It's just maybe just it's there too because it's weird.
I don't know.
Trying to channel some David Lynch.
The Mucus Man. Why would you tell me that story? Why would a telemarketer be calling David at 2 a.m?
Hey, you don't get fucking sales by sleeping. Always be closing.
Yeah.
Isn't there like a law against calling after a certain time?
There are.
Not if you're in India.
But yeah. If it's just a scam.
Yeah.
Who cares?
I mean, that must have been because I think the passenger recognized that it was like a scam.
It's
like police type of call.
Scam caller.
Most likely scam. Yeah.
Phone tells you when you got a scam caller coming.
Still, it's like she does say it's like 2 a.m. It's like the witching hour.
Yeah.
And
witching hour is 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And then my final question is why did he kill the cook? Because of the no substitutions thing? He was just annoyed.
Yeah.
I think because he was trying to get away.
I get why he killed the trucker because
he only killed people that maybe would fuck up his plan. Like the cook was running, maybe he was trying to get help and he didn't stop it, I guess. Or he just was pissed off about the cheddar. I mean, he's not a good guy. I mean, he's got his own morals. Like he said, he never kills moms and he doesn't. I don't think he wanted to kill the mom. He was hoping that James would crack and give him, the reason to.
I don't think he would.
He let the girl go because you kind of feel like, were you just being nice? Like you'd feel like if she said I was being a dick, he would have shot her because she was being a dick. But he still lets her go. So it's maybe he's just like.
No, she admitted the truth, and I think that's
that could be it. Yeah,
why he was like, okay, all right. And he also seems like he's regretful in that moment. Like he doesn't really like what he's doing, but he's also having a blast.
Because you got to remember, he was a bookkeeper. He wasn't killing people.
Yeah,
right. So that we know of, but I mean, it makes sense. He doesn't like cops. He was working for the mob, so it makes sense if he shoots the cops. Maybe he's always wanted to kill a cop. Who knows?
A big cop.
I'm sure he's a maybe big shady too.
Maybe he heard the truck driver insult him when he walked in. He's got good ears, so he's just like, "Oh, this guy's dying.
He's gonna die."
And then, the cook was
no substitutes.
I mean, putting mozzarella on a tuna melt is an unforgivable sin, I guess.
Don't put mozzarella on a tuna melt.
I think it's more about the no substitutions really pissed him off, and then he was running and he was worried he was going to get away and alert someone.
Yeah,
ruin his fun. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Aside from the Ace of Spades one, my one is how did James accidentally kill his daughter? Kill the bookkeeper's daughter.
Bullet went.
He shot her 3 times while she was attacking him. Or she was attacking, like scratching his face, and he shot her 3 times and accidentally hit. The bullet went through.
Yeah,
or he just accidentally missed and it hit her instead. Yeah.
And then she was laying on the floor.
Yeah.
Because at the moment when I watched it, I didn't understand what he was talking about. He was like, I didn't mean to kill her, but I saw her laying there. It was like, what? What happened? That makes sense. So he just accidentally shot her or shot through the mom and hit her and killed her.
And apparently it was the breaking moment where he decided to leave that life behind and try to do something else with his life.
Probably makes a certain amount of sense.
Yeah.
I can see, I mean, he was just a lizard man, remorseless killer, but he probably still never wanted to kill kids. Like that was off the table for him. And when he did it accidentally, that was his... I'm done with this life.
Rock bottom, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which makes me wonder, like, did he meet Maggie in Boston, like, while he was drinking himself to death? Or did he just move out to Vegas and maybe he was living a leaving Las Vegas type lifestyle of drinking himself to death and then he met Maggie?
It kind of seems like she knows his past because in the voicemail she leaves him, she's basically like, yeah, maybe I know why you didn't show up or something. And, I just hope you're okay. We're here. We're both okay. We hope you're okay. Like she probably, and the fact that she talked to this guy she talked to the bookkeeper on the phone, like she may have pieced together sort of some shit that was going on and had to do with his old life. And so maybe that's why she stopped calling him during it. I don't know. Kind of felt like she knows his life and, or his past life and it kind of caught up to him and she just was going along with it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. It's a good thought. I didn't really get the sense that she knew his past, but maybe she does.
She just seemed awfully forgiving about the fact that he wasn't there all night and he missed it and she had to leave my voicemail.
Yeah. I guess that's true.
She's like, oh, I was just worried about you. Like, I just hope you're okay. Like she knows something happened that had to do with that.
Something's up.
It's time for the trackers.
All right. That leads us over to something I'm very curious about. The Cage curse tracker.
Right.
See this breakdown. It felt very heavy.
It is. I mean, we haven't had this many curses since Birdie.
Wow.
And then
there were that many curses in Birdie?
Yeah. 72
Jesus.
in Birdie. Birdie, I think, is the most.
Again, this is for the audience. This is only Nicolas Cage we're tracking for these things.
Birdie's the most, and probably might remain so at 72. I think Birdie kind of felt like it was sort of just letting him riff on ad lib, and he swears a lot when he does that.
Yeah,
kind of probably with this as well. But anyway, we'll get into it. We had 5 goddams, 6 shits, 1 asshole, 2 bitches. Calls him a whiny bitch and then like a son of a bitch or something.
He says bitchin'.
Bitchin', that's it. And then he calls him a whiny bitch.
Yeah.
Or silly bitch or whatever.
Silly bitch. Yeah.
Silly bitch.
1 Jesus Christ. 2 God. 3 cocks, which we haven't had in a long time. So I just held up 4 fingers, but it meant 3. He calls the cop a cock 3 times. Last time we had a cock was in Between Worlds, and then before that, it wasn't since Color Out of Space.
Wow. I mean, he must have done that for the Boston thing. Like,
you cock. And a total of 30 fucks.
Jesus.
By far the most.
Have we ever had a movie where we actually ticked every single box?
No.
I don't think so, right?
No, I don't know. It would be interesting to see what the closest we come to that. Just looking at this, it might be Vampire's Kiss. Might be the closest.
That makes sense.
The only ones missing from Vampire's Kiss were asshole, bullshit, and cock. And then you ran the gamut of everything else. So, yeah, that is a total of 50 curses for this movie, which I guess the devil's got a potty mouth. Brings our total up to 941.
941.
So we cracked 900 and almost got to halfway through it with this movie.
Damn.
I wonder if we'll get to 1,000 this season. I don't think so. Because we only have one real movie after this.
Yeah, I don't see 60 some odd curses in Honeymoon in Vegas.
No, probably not. Runtime. This was 90 minutes, which is... we've had quite a few 90-minute films. Between Worlds was our last one that was 90 minutes. And yeah, never on Tuesdays as well. G-Force. some solid films landing at the 90-minute mark.
It's so interesting because it's like that's the sweet spot. You can have a really good movie at 90 minutes, but most of the time,
yeah,
it's a shit movie. They just cut to 90 because I guess that's what you go for.
Yeah. I mean, there's some really good ones in that 90 range, like Raising Arizona is 94 minutes. The Trust was 93 minutes. Pig was 92 minutes.
I feel like it takes a very, I think it takes very meticulous planning and craftswork to make a good story in 90 minutes. You have to actually plan it out. Or you shoot a shit movie and then you cut it down to 90, or you barely have a movie and you just shoot until you have 90 minutes worth of stuff, which is like Arsenal or whatever. Or
Grand Isle.
Isle. So it's weird. It's like it can be that sweet spot, but it's also can be telling of the quality.
Nudity, there was none because there's like 2 characters in this whole movie. State and Country Tracker, we went to Vegas once again. That is now Con Air, The Trust next, and Sympathy for the Devil, all in Las Vegas. Budget versus gross, I couldn't find a budget anywhere. That keeps happening to us a lot with these kind of unrated direct to streaming films.
Yeah.
I don't really know. Like, it seems like it's changed. Like, I feel like you used to have to, because if you look through our films that we've done, everything pre like 2012 has a rating. Anything that's like unrated after that, it feels like it was a direct to streaming. They're like, we don't even have to rate this. We can just put it on a streaming service, and then it'll be good to go. So maybe they don't have to disclose if they're not putting it in theaters. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But it made $178,267. So we'll just tack that onto our total. So our budget overall on I've lost track of how many films we've done, 66, something like that. On our total films, we have $2.268 billion in budget with a $5.029.9 billion gross. On our top grossing films, surprisingly, this is near the bottom. It's sandwiched between Christmas Carol and Between Worlds, 2 of the best films we ever talked about on the show. It's not at the bottom. Grand Isle is the worst at $5,566. I don't think anybody is ever beating that.
No.
I don't even know how you get 5,000. Like, you release a movie into any theater, I feel like you would make $5,000, but I don't know. Ratings, this was our 8th unrated film. Completely unrated. It did show in some theaters, but it looks like it was only overseas in the Netherlands and Russia, so I don't think they have to rate them over there.
Or they have their own rating system
that doesn't translate over here.
Follow.
And that leads us over to the Cage Kill Tracker.
Do you guys think the waitress died in the fire? She's kind of dumb. She didn't run out of there. She ran into the fucking bathroom.
I don't think so.
I think she got away.
I think she made it.
Yeah, that's what I figured too. But I had to ask just because
it's a fair question.
If you take her dumbass out of it, there's only 3. He killed 3 people, which brings us to a total of 272 kills.
So there's a cop, the
cook,
the trucker, and the
cook. Yep. And then he ends up dying in this film, which I feel like it's been a minute since he's died.
It has.
Brings us to 19 deaths total.
Did we have another death this season? I feel like we had. Between Worlds. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, I think this is the last movie he died in.
And Outcast.
Oh yeah, Outcast. That's right. He does.
Who could forget that?
And Long Legs.
And long
legs. Okay, so I guess it hasn't been a while. It just feels like
I guess we did have a fair amount this year.
It just feels like it's been a while.
Yeah.
So, what did you think? Let's rank this film on the Cageometer.
All right, that leads us over to the most important question that we ask on this show. Vince, where does Sympathy for the Devil from 2023 rate on your Cageometer?
this movie is a pretty boring movie plot wise and story wise. I just feel like there wasn't a lot of substance there. Cage's performance is the only thing that kept me entertained. And to be fair, it moved pretty quick, surprisingly. And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that he was just so entertaining that kept me going. It didn't feel like Between Worlds or or Outcast where it's just fucking drug on and on. Yeah. I do give it credit. I'll give it a 5. I feel like it's a middle of the road film. There's nothing special about it, but it's not the worst movie we've watched.
No, not even fucking close.
And like I said, Cage's performance made this entertaining. So going over to Cage, man, maybe I'm being a little too generous, but I'll give him a 7 because I felt like his caginess made that character have substance. It made that character entertaining. Otherwise, he could have been like his co-star and just been boring as fuck, like he is in everything I've ever seen him in.
Joel Kinnaman.
Kinnaman. I'm not a big fan of Joel. Sorry, my guy. You're the worst part of both Suicide Squad films. I feel like his over the topness worked for this character, and it's the only thing that kept me entertained. Like I said, there's no substance to the story. I mean, it's cliche as fuck. You already know how it's gonna end when it starts. The moment he gets in the car with him, you know how it's gonna end. Like you guys said, there could have been a lot lost in editing. So I won't put that on the actors, but yeah, 5 for the movie, 7 for Mr. Cage. Not his greatest, not his worst. Definitely entertaining as fuck.
Yeah. All right, Nigel, where does Sympathy for the Devil rate on your Cageometer?
I mean, sue me. I liked it. I liked it. This is the kind of movie I like. I like small, like movies that take place in small places with small casts, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it's just less to pay attention to and easier to just kind of follow along with the characters. And so I personally enjoyed that aspect of it. Like, oh yeah, it's a car and a diner and that's basically it where the whole movie takes place. Which it worked for me. And just having these two guys, I thought Joel Kinnaman was kind of good for the role because he said he's pretty boring in a lot of stuff, but that's kind of what he's going for in this. He's just supposed to seem like a boring family man, maybe. But then it's like, oh, okay, well, he's also a cold-blooded hitman. So he got that reptile face, I guess. And he does a pretty good job of expressing that in that end part. Anyway, yeah, I thought it was shot pretty well. I'm honestly surprised it didn't get a theatrical release. I thought it was theatrical quality. Maybe I'm just beaten down by a lot of the shit we've watched this season. This felt like a rare treat to me. I mean, to me, this is the hidden gem of this season.
Yeah.
So I'll give it a 7 because I felt like it was entertaining. I mean, a lot of that is Cage, but the story is simplistic. It's predictable. But again, I think just Cage kind of keeps your attention and keeps it going. But I feel like, it's not perfect. It is too much substance for too little of a story, I guess. And they dole it out a little bit too slowly. But I don't know. I don't know what else you get to do with that story, I guess. But yeah, there are some things that maybe they lost in the edit. Some stuff that are plot lines or threads that aren't picked back up again. So it's not great, but I thought it was pretty good. So, I mean, to me, it's a 7. Cage's performance was also great for me. I felt like he was giving it. I feel like he was allowed to go full Cage, as we talk about, but in a way that wasn't that detrimental to the film. We've seen him do it in other movies, and it definitely is not to the benefit of the film. To me, I felt like it was in this one. So I give him an 8 on this. I kind of put it on par with something like Eddie King in Deadfall, where he's just so over the top, but it somehow fits the movie that they're going with and the character they're going for. His Boston accent is not great. That brings it down a little bit. I don't know why they tried to do it. I don't know why you had to say that. I mean, I get if he's a character from Boston, just give him his regular accent. Say he didn't have to have a Boston accent. He could have just been working out of Boston at some point. And it's distracting because sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. And he just
he says that he's from Brooklyn, like that the bookkeeper was born in Brooklyn and then moved to South Boston.
And then moved to South Boston, yeah.
So he wouldn't really have a Boston accent.
You wouldn't think.
Maybe that's supposed to be the explanation about why it's wonky. Like he had a Brooklyn accent and then he became a Boston. Anyway,
that's why he goes.
It's kind of distracting. yeah, maybe. But aside from the accent, which is never his strong suit, I thought this character was pretty goddamn entertaining at every single moment he's on screen. Even the weird mucus man story was just like, what the fuck is he gonna say? You don't know what he's gonna do in every single scene, and I think that's part of why this works.
Yeah,
and doesn't feel boring and stuff. Some stuff is pretty drawn out, but once Cage is there, it just kind of feels like you're getting pulled along by his performance, and I don't know what the hell is going to happen from scene to scene. And like we said, on repeat watchings, it makes a little more sense, and you can kind of see what he's going for with it. So, there's that sympathy for the devil, as we said. You have sympathy for him. It shifts as you're watching between the two characters. Sympathy for either of them kind of bounces back and forth, but it all makes sense. And there's not really like a lot of twists and turns. There's basically one twist that was there right from the beginning. You could have just figured it out, but I don't know. It's entertaining. So
yeah.
I liked it more than I think you guys did, and more than the general audiences did, and the critics. It seems like.
Well, going over to my Cageometer, I totally agree with you. I actually loved this movie. I had so much fun with it, and I love Cage in it. It's definitely not a perfect movie at all, but like you said, I think it's the hidden gem of this season. We always have one movie where we're like, wow, I did not expect to love this movie. Like The Trust, it kind of is the same sort of thing where it's like just two characters pretty much the whole movie. I wish that Joel Kinnaman would have been a little bit more interesting. I feel like he was pretty flat, but I think that's what you had to kind of go for with this. He's just a family man now, and he's got to pretend like he's completely confused as to what's going on. But I don't know. Yeah, I do. I kind of agree with Vince a little bit where it's like every time I've seen this guy, he's just a little bit kind of boring. Seems like he's being put up as like a future superstar, but he doesn't quite have the charisma, I guess, for lack of a better word, to pull it off quite yet. I don't know. He's like that. What's that guy from that Twisters movie that he's like a big star? And I'm just Glenn Powell. Glenn Powell is always kind of like, why is this guy's just so but at least that guy's boring
and muscular.
I guess you could say the same thing about Joel Kinnaman.
If you're into white trash looking dudes.
He's got that look.
He's got that white trash look.
The trailer trash. Sorry, Joel Kinnaman. I'm sorry. I don't mean that.
I feel like
Joel
that
Kinnaman's coming after us, man.
It's all jokes. It's all jokes. I'm just not a fan of the guy.
That's his personally. Look. I feel like that gets him. He gets cast on that look too. I think.
Yeah.
Unique.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give the movie a 7. I waffled between a 6 and a 7, but I think like Nigel kind of convinced me of like, yeah, I'm not crazy. I actually really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, and it's one of the movies, the few movies from this season that I'm recommending it to people because I feel like nobody has any idea that this movie exists.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you like watching Nic Cage go off the rails, this is the fucking movie. Which, jumping over to Cage, I gave him a 7. I didn't quite go up to an 8. Just because I feel like sometimes he's just so over the top that it's like takes me out of the moment. I'm
what are you talking about, dude? What are you talking about?
He's great. He is the most entertaining part of this whole movie. It's like like I said, a tour de Cage. One of the cagiest cagiest movies that we've ever talked about. I would say Deadfall is probably the cagiest movie we've ever watched.
Yeah.
Maybe Vampire's Kiss down a little bit from that, and then maybe this movie. So it's top 3 as far as Cage insanity. And it's clear that he had a fucking great time making this movie.
Yeah.
And it probably took like a week.
Yes.
It's
Shorter shoot
in
than
like
Arsenal.
4 locations. I don't know. You're on the
It
road.
feels
You're
like
at the
it feels like a
soundstage.
higher quality than these types of movies that we've seen him be in. I guess.
Absolutely. Like
Probably was
you
a
look
low
at like
budget,
Between
short
Worlds.
shooting schedule.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a lot of actors, low production, but it feels higher quality than what those other movies have been like.
It was well crafted. I would say the story could have used like at least one more beat to it, like something that's a little bit more. I don't know, just something else to it, because it's such a simple story that is drug on for 90 minutes.
Yeah, I just wish there had been a little more
it.
tension between the two of them. I think that's what brought down my ratings. I didn't feel like there was enough tension between the two of them, and maybe that's just because Cage was going over the top at times. But it's just like, I don't know. It didn't really seem like there was anything at stake. I was hoping both of them died, if I was being honest, at one point, because I was like, I don't care. I don't feel sympathy for any of you guys until that third act, and then it's like, okay,
Now I think that is also part of it. Why people, that ending's not great, and I think that brings a lot of people down. Like, again, if you don't wow them by the ending, you're not gonna have a good movie. So you get that criticism from it, because to me it is all kind of abrupt, and then it's just like, okay,
and it's just over. Yeah,
this guy goes back to his good life, I guess, even though he's the devil, arguably, in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a gray area.
I
also tend to like those kind of stories.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
I do like these. Like Nigel said, like I love these kind of small productions where you're kind of like, there's not too much fluff thrown into it. Like I feel like these big giant blockbuster movies could learn a thing from these small indie films of like, you can tell a small story. You don't have to always make it, 900 things going on in every one of these stories. You could just kind of tell one simple story.
Yeah.
That being said, I feel like the story was a little too simple.
Yeah.
Which, that's kind of where I give it a 7. Is like, it was entertaining and enjoyable throughout. Like I said, it kind of just ended abruptly, but I feel like it was all pretty well done. I thought the music was done well. I think the cinematography, even the LED soundstage stuff, felt authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. It was really fun. It was a really fun movie.
Here it is, the moment you've all been waiting for. These are the cagiest moments of the film.
I'm your family emergency now. Back in South Boston, I once got 3 speeding tickets in 1 month. Want to know why? Stress. Sup? Somebody say sexy.
Do you have a car?
Would you calm down? But if you so much as look at this cop weird, I will shoot you so fast in the back of your goddamn skull, cranial matter will splatter all over this cop's pressed uniform, and it will be disgusting.
Sir, one more question and you're gonna have some trouble.
Oh, no, not trouble. Please, Mr. Big Policeman, anything but trouble.
No, wait.
You fucking crazy? All I did was ask a simple question, and now this big cop is telling me to get out of the car.
You're under arrest.
You warned me not to speed.
Why are you being such a cock about it?
Jesus Christ.
What's past is past, I always say, although others say past is prologue, which is really just saying the same thing from a different perspective. But point is, move on.
You could have just destroyed a whole fucking family.
I destroyed a family. I destroyed a family! I did! Think you broke my beautiful nose, fucker! When my wife was pregnant and delivering, there was so much pressure on her bladder. I mean, it was bitchin'. It was a golden shower explosion cascading all over the doctor's face. It was sexual, man. Wow. David Chamberlain, you stud muffin.
I fell down the stairs.
You fell down the stairs.
He fell on the stairs, but then what happened to you?
I was at the bottom of the stairs when he fell.
Please, please. Who do you think I am? Who?
You're the witching hour. I always like that. I like the idea of crazy on account of
idea.
Do not fucking interrupt me! God damn it! I told you that in the car! You're always running off at the mouth! You got a motor mouth! There's a motorboat stuck in your mouth! Just shut up! Sit the fuck back down! Oh, shit. Oh, shit. It's getting good. Okay, you know what? You should prepare yourself, mindset-wise. That way it won't be such a shock when it happens. Assume the worst is what I mean. You're not changing your tactics, not even a little. It's fucking mental. You're awesome, buddy.
I'm not who you think I am.
But I never even told you who I think you are, so how could you know you're not who I think you are? Take.
I'll say what it
Great night. Great fucking night. What are you, ghosting me? What are you, Dr. Ross, my psychiatrist? You are so fucked in the head, James. You're so fucked in the head, you actually believe you're David Chamberlain!
That's it for this episode of One Cage at a Time. As always, be sure to drop us an email, onecagepodcast@gmail.com, to let us know if we missed anything, or hit us up with suggestions to improve the show, comments, compliments, or simply to gush about the legend that is Nicolas Cage. I would love to hear more. If anybody worked on this film, I would love to hear more about what the original script was, what shooting was like, how long it took to shoot. I didn't see any information about that. So if you know anything about this movie, I would love to hear from you. Next up, we'll be doing something very different. Since we ran out of Christmas movies 2 years ago, I figured we'd do something special for the week of Christmas this year. Last year we did these 7 days of animated Cagemas. So this year we'll be tackling a handful of Nic's bit part appearances over the years in what we're calling a very bit part Christmas with old Saint Nick. But before you get too excited, these are going to be extremely short episodes, since all 5 of these films add up to maybe 1 minute of screen time. There's like nothing in any of these. But we'd be remiss if we didn't cover these films at some point, so I figure we'll just make an event out of it. First up, we'll be watching the very first appearance of young Nicolas Coppola in anything, to my knowledge, the 1980 Robert Redford film Brubaker. Nic plays an uncredited extra, supposedly, though no one has ever found definitive proof that he's even in the movie, so this might actually just be an internet rumor. I don't even know where this came from. Like, when I did research, I looked, and it was all kind of linking back to one article that said that he was in this as an uncredited extra, which makes sense. Like, he's part of the Coppola family, Robert Redford. You know, there's some crossover there, so maybe he is there. I don't know. But he would have only been 16 at this point, so him playing a random extra in a prison kind of makes less sense, but you know, it happens in Arkansas, so that makes it make more sense. I don't know. Again, we're not going to do like a full breakdown of these films. We're just going to briefly summarize the story, and I mean it briefly. Like, these are going to be like 10 minutes each. Sorry. Talking about Nic's involvement and any interesting quick facts that we stumble upon, anecdotes, etc. about the film. But since this show is basically just an excuse for us to watch every single Cage performance, we have to watch these. It's mandatory. Somebody will come at us and be like, "Did you guys talk about Brubaker?" at some point? You know?
These fucking guys in their 40s dressing like 13-year-olds didn't even watch those films.
You didn't even watch Brubaker. That movie where you might be able to see corner of his face in the background somewhere. Anyways, it's actually a pretty interesting film. It's kind of based on true events and stuff, so it's actually, I enjoyed it, but it'll be fun to talk about briefly. But anyways, make sure to check it out wherever fine films are sold or on your streaming service of choice. Until then, we'll say goodbye the way we do each and every episode with our Nicolas Cage quote of the film.
Huh? You like that? What do you think? Still sexy? Dressed up for this night. Now you break my nose? I wanted to be 100% sex tonight, and you cut that in half. I'm now 50% sex. Look, see that?
Thanks for listening to One Cage at a Time. Visit us online at onecageatatime.com or follow us on the social media platform of your choice for more Nicolas Cage goodness. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you really like the show, become a member of our Patreon where you can download unedited and ad-free episodes, as well as listen to our follow-up show, Back Into the Cage, where we re-examine each movie to discuss what we missed the first time around, answer listener questions, and wax poetic about the man, the myth, the legend that is Nicolas Cage.
And the mucus man was a skinny guy in a suit and tie with a bald head and a briefcase full of boogers. And I could see him in my mind's eye going up in an elevator, briefcase in hand. And he glided across the floor, almost like a snail's trail. And he got to my bed and he opened the briefcase and he scooped out a handful of boogers and he sprinkled them into my nose.